This might end up to be one of my favorite DeepCool cases. Today we're going to talk about CG560 case with front mesh part, top mesh part, loads of space inside. And when I say loads of space, I mean this case it's not huge like Super Tower or anything similar to that. It's standard mid-tower case, but with loads of space inside. So let's start with the side panel. You have two thumb screws that you need to untie to get the access to the interior part, and then you release the tempered glass. And of course you have the accessory bag with addressable RGB headers, you have loads of zip ties, and you have of course screws for your additional fans if you decide to place them, motherboard screws, standoffs, and everything else. Now, taking a look in the interior of the case, they actually designed something quite nice and quite interesting. For instance, you here have rubber grommets that aren't your standard rubber grommets. These ones look like they won't fall off because pushing them and pulling them out, they don't have any possibility to flip out if you push the 24 pin through them. So this is really cool and really nice, and I'm quite excited to see something new in basically any kind of case. So yeah, this is a big plus. At the top you have two openings for 8-pin headers for your EPS, CPU fans, addressable RGB, whatever you decide to connect at the top. Two large holes on the side, as already stated, for the 24-pin SATA, whatever you decide to go. And then you have two holes at the bottom on your power supply shroud for, I don't know, GPU connection, audio, HD audio, front USB ports, stuff like that. At the front we have three addressable RGB 120mm fans, and at the back we have a standard non-RGB fan which is 120mm, and unfortunately it has 3-pin DC connection with Molex connectivity. So I'm not a fan of Molex, but okay, since we have the 3-pin, we're going to connect that one. Now, taking a look at the top part of the chassis, you could place a 240 radiator or 280, but it all depends of course on your VRMs, the height of the coolers which cool the VRMs, and the height of the actual RAMs. If you go with high profile RAMs, there's no possibility to place a 280 radiator. Now we have quite an interesting concept on this one, and this is something that DeepCool, some kind of, let's put it, they didn't reorganize, they redesigned the whole look of their cases. And as you can see, the front panel really does have some sort of a different design, and it goes throughout the whole case. So you have the backside part where the outtake for the fan is, here on the side the PCI brackets right here, everything, and as well as their new CPU tower cooler. You see those squares on front of the CPU tower cooler as well as on the case. So this is something totally different. Now at the top there's missing only one thing to make this case completely perfect, is the USB Type-C connection. You have two USB 3.0, you have two USB 3.0, you have one 3.5mm jack which is 4 poles, so you can connect your headset and your microphone if you have those kind of headset. Of course you have a power on button and you have an LED button. Now talking about the back side, now here is the most interesting thing. Since they did give this case a bit of a white, let's put it that way, this is what they did. They placed a controller right here for the LED, of course logical. I mean, if you have an LED button, you do need to have some sort of a controller to control everything. Here you have two SSD brackets, which, well, basically it's completely not that useful. Here is the thing, the problem is you have to tie the SSDs before placing the motherboard. Usually it would be more practical if they just placed the SSD brackets right here, and then on the brackets you place the SSD. This means you're placing the SSD directly on the case, and if you decide to move the SSDs, you have to remove the motherboard. If you have a reliable SSD, you don't have to worry about it, but if you're going with a low budget SSDs, then you'll have to dismantle the whole build. Here we have loads of cables, as already stated. So you have the HD audio, of course, which has the 4-pole connection on the front. you have the USB 3.0, and we have all the connections for the addressable RGB and for the connections of the fan, which are also, this is I don't know how to put it. You have the input for the fans, which is 4-pin PWM, and then when you go to this actual splitter, let's see, the actual splitter right here has 3-pin connection fans. I don't know, we'll check that out. But the interesting part is you have loads of space. This is almost 2.5 centimeters for your cable management. You have some standoffs to reroute the cables nicely and tie them up with zip ties. The bottom part where you place your power supply has loads of space, and you have a hard drive bracket, which you can place a hard drive here at the bottom, 3.5 inch, and at the top you can also place a 3.5 inch hard drive or a 2.5 inch SSD. But still, even with that, you can place quite large power supply and even reroute the cables as you wish, and this will look quite nice. Except for the SSD mountings, I'm quite satisfied with what I see. Let's check out the build and thermals. So running benchmarks in this case was quite interesting, because we were checking out the three 120mm fans, and we have one 140mm fan. Now, before we go into thermals with the CPU tower cooler and the thermals on the GPU, I like to point out that it's really cool that they included three 120mm addressable RGB fans on front, which you can adjust the modes on top with the LED button. And even though it's not an RGB or addressable RGB, you know, to go with the whole set with the front fans, it's cool they added a 140 at the back, because it does create nice exhaust. So the CPU with, you can see a familiar, let's say, cover over here is the AK620. It cooled down the AMD Ryzen 5 5600G on 63 Celsius degrees. Now the GPU, thankfully, because of the front fans, is running on 65 Celsius degrees, and this is MSI GeForce RTX 3070 Supreme X. And I would say those temperatures are quite outstanding. First of all, we have an interesting design on front, which is fully almost open, fully and almost, because the design, the pattern on the front is going through the whole front chassis, and that's why I said fully almost. Otherwise it will be fully meshed, right? You do have a front, some sort of a dust filter, but still enough air comes through the front to go to the processor and to the GPU. Outstanding, of course. So I would say that this is one of my favorite DeepCool cases, without a doubt, just because of the some different design, I would say, that goes alongside with the cooler, of course. And it really does have loads of space. Without a doubt, you can place a 360 radiator on front without any issues, even with this large RTX card. No problems whatsoever. On top, you could go with 240 radiator, because if you go with the 280 radiator on top, the 8-pin EPS might get in a way just because of the thickness. So that's another thing to consider and check it out. But definitely loads of openings, and I really love the new design of the rubber grommets on the side, which you already seen from the close-ups. So guys, DeepCool CG560 with AK620 case and CPU tower cooler. You can check the links for both in the description below and check out the prices. I mean, you can't go wrong with DeepCool. First of all, they do create some nice cases and nice CPU tower coolers, and then secondly, the price is always at the right point, I would say. So check out the links below. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button for this combo, and of course notification bell for future content so you don't miss any. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.